잠시 후 10시
From 10 a.m., we are going to start the 6th General Meeting of a Global EV Association and Network. All the online participants, please maintain connected and wait for the start. The official language is Korean and English, and you can use the interpretation receiver that is placed on your table.
So if you need a service, please wear receiver on your table. 화상회의 시스템으로 접속하신 분들은
Those who are connected online, please click the menu option to select either Korean and English for interpretation service that it will be provided in simultaneous services. And you can also use the separate link for Korean and English pages. And make sure you turn off the cell phone or put it on the vibration or mute mode. Thank you.
네, 여러분 안녕하십니까?
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. Welcome to the 6th General Meeting of the Global Electric Vehicle Association Network. My name is Im Jong-young, your MC today. As you're well aware, the Global EV Association Network is a part of the major efforts to tackle climate change. By promoting the introduction of global e-vehicles and playing its role as a platform for e-vehicle associations that represent each country. With 62 associations, organizations, and corporate members in 32 countries, the global e-vehicle industries and their policy status are shared through the network. In particular, the association network is highly interested in establishing and expanding the foundation of technology and standardization. Due to COVID-19 this year, again, we are hosting this event online and offline as a hybrid format for more safe event hosting. I'm furthermore excited to see all the enthusiasm and support you send us through the forum and the general meeting today. I'm truly delighted to see all of you through the video conference system and the on-air broadcasting session online. I would like to express my gratitude for those who are here with us today despite your busy schedule. First of all, let me begin by introducing all the distinguished guests who came to celebrate this wonderful event. Some of you are online, but please give them a big round of applause whenever I call them.
Raise your hand or stand up so that we can recognize you and welcome you. 네,
First of all, Chairman Kim Dae-hwan of Global E-Vehicle Association Network. Let's give him a big round of applause. Chairman Osama Hassanain of a Rising Tide Fund and Honorary Chairman of the Organization Chairman Committee of International Electric Vehicle. Let's give him a big round of applause. He's online with us. Next, Chairman Yakov Shamash, the Board of Directors of a Global EV Association Network.
Ambassador of Croatia, 주한 크로아티아 대사님도 함께
His Excellency Ambassador Damir Kusen of Croatia to the Republic of Korea. Vice Chairman Woo Tae-hee of Korean Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Thank you for your time. Consul General Wang Nu-shin from the Consulate of the People's Republic of China to Korea in Jeju. Iseki Yushias, Consulate General of Japan to the Republic of Korea. Thank you.
주한 EU 대표부 공사 참사관님 귀한 걸음 해주셨습니다. 감사합니다.
Minister Counsel Christopher Beth of a delegation of the EU to the Republic of Korea.
탄소나노협회 회장님 고맙습니다.
Korean Nano Association. Chairman Yang Moon-seok of Jeju Chamber of Commerce and Industry, welcome. Formal Director Gil Hong-gun of the Economy, Humanities and the Social Research Council. And many more are with us today, online and offline. And please allow me to apologize that I cannot offer to introduce all of them despite the time limit. And now we would like to give the flag of merit. And Country Manager of Korea, GM Korea, please come to the podium on behalf of Mary Berra, Chairman, General Motors. Flag of Merit. This Flag of Merit is awarded to commemorate your continued contribution to the green industry and the spread of electric vehicles. Chairman Kim Dae-hwan of Global EV Association Network. Let's give him a big round of applause for his award.
네,
Thank you and congratulations. And I would like to congratulate GM for winning this meaningful award. And once again, please give GM a big round of applause. Thank you very much. Now we would like to invite Chairman Kim Dae-hwan of Global EV Association Network for opening remarks. Please welcome Chairman Kim with a big hand. We are certainly living in a very weird world. I haven't had such a long life, but last year and this year we are facing unpredictable and highly uncertain times. And in spite of these uncertainties, we are still gathered here today with the family members of EV community. And I'm not sure what we can make out of this. So, as I was coming to this venue today, I felt somewhat weird, but this feeling is not entirely unfamiliar. So I really want to have this communication with the members of EV community. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the green island of Jeju, leading the path toward carbon neutrality and the island of wind and solar energy. Thanks to the friendship that has been built on the eco-friendly mobility of EV, we are meeting for the 6th time, and it's truly a great pleasure to be here with you. And thank you very much for joining us. I would like to extend my special gratitude to the keynote speakers, Vice Chairman Woo Tae-lee of Korea Chamber of Commerce, Minister Councilor Christopher Beth of Delegation of EU to ROK. Thank you for joining us today. Also, thank you very much, His Excellency Ambassador Damir Kusen of Croatia, for joining us through video. And also, I would like to thank the honorary chairman of the organizing committee of International EV Expo, Chairman Osama Husseinain, who is always supporting us from Silicon Valley of the United States and also from New York. We are always supported and joined by Chairman Yakov Shamashi, Board of Directors of Global EV Association Network. I would like to thank all the members of Global Family of EV for joining us today, online and offline. I would like to welcome and thank all the members of our global family. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, following last year, COVID-19 pandemic is definitely creating a lot of uncertainties and challenges to us, but at the same time, it's an opportunity for us to accelerate the speed of innovation. Countries around the world are now treating low carbon economy as the growth engine for future growth, and EV market is definitely being reshaped with a focus on EVs. Recently, EV has banned the sales of internal combustion engine cars from 2035 to achieve carbon neutrality. ROK, the US, China are also accelerating their efforts to replace their cars with EV, and GEAN is going to be playing a major role in this path. In 2016, in our third International EV Expo, the EV families from 12 countries gathered together to launch GEAN, and it's growing in scale and depth every year. The 6th General Meeting of GEAN is probably the only meeting of EV Family Network participated by 32 countries. And in 2018, in the General Meeting, we have decided to start our efforts to open Pyongyang International EV Expo. And in December of the same year, I had a chance to visit Pyongyang in person and talk to many North Korean leaders. And as the first step in this path, we have started the first Peace Road EV Grey journey across the Korean peninsula. From Halla Mountain to Baekdu Mountain, we want to build one EV belt, and the journey started in Imjingak yesterday, and it has gone south, and it will be arriving here in a short while. So in the near future, we will be able to travel in EV from Halla to Baekdu and Baekdu to Halla. And that is truly the moment when our efforts will be bearing fruits. Members of the Global EV Association Network, GEAN is now playing a very important and dominant role in the global EV industrial ecosystem. For the past 200 years, the EV had traveled a rough and lonely road, and GEAN is now leading the efforts for commercialization of EV. We cannot be complacent with the progress because we still have less than 1% of the global EV market. We still have a long road ahead, and this could be a starting point, and the concerns and challenges that we face are always ongoing. Renewable energy, carbon neutrality, and the green world that exists harmoniously with the EV, it's something that we share all the responsibility to make this vision possible. And here lies the important role to be played by Global EV Association Network. I would like to thank Chairman Mary Barra of General Motors, who has received this important award today, and congratulations to all the members of GM family. I would like to pay my deepest respect to the efforts made by GM Group in EV efforts. Distinguished guests, we are meeting here in spite of the pandemic, and based on today's meeting, we are going to have another extraordinary general meeting of GEAN in October, and we will continue to pick up where we left off. We'll continue our communication about the future of EV and share our understanding about the rules and visions of GEAN. I would like to thank everybody who are joining online and offline to participate in the 6th General Meeting of GEAN. And I hope we can all meet again, looking healthier, fit as fiddle, in the October Extraordinary General Meeting of GEAN. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chairman Kim Dae-hwan. From Baekdu to Halla, from Halla to Baekdu, I hope to see the genuine green world. He emphasized our effort and commitment for the sustainable growth of the eco-friendly vehicle industry so that we can stand in the center of a green recovery of the world. Now, I would like to invite another esteemed speaker who is joining us online. Chairman Jakob Shamash, Board of Directors of a Global EV Association Network.
Thank you for joining us. Are you ready to give us congratulatory remarks?
Yes, I am. Good morning, everyone. I'm delighted to welcome you to the sixth IEVE, the International Electric Vehicle Expo. I'm very disappointed that I cannot be with you in person, but I do want to express my thanks to Chairman Daewon Kim for his vision in establishing the Expo more than 6 years ago. And the incredible success that we've had has been largely due to his very hard efforts over the years. The problem you are solving is even bigger than the global COVID pandemic. The problem is climate change. The science and environmental community have warned us for decades that global increases in extreme weather events, hurricanes and tsunamis and floods on the one hand, and the long-lasting extreme drought on the other, show that climate change is caused by people and their behavior. So, against this grim background, the electric vehicle industry should be incredibly proud of its contributions to emissions reduction. The host country, South Korea, stands out. It has been a leader in the world in terms of the implementation of electric vehicles and introduction to their markets. They've committed to a tenfold increase in electric vehicles on the road by 2025, from 110,000 to 1.1 million. That's an incredible commitment. EV's record of achievement, electric vehicle accomplishments, after a decade of rapid growth, by the end of 2020, there were 10 million electric cars on the world's roads. Electric car registrations increased by 41% in 2020. Despite the pandemic-related worldwide downturn in car sales, in which global car sales dropped by 16%. Government efforts include both regulatory and incentive efforts. The good news is that the share of government incentives in total spending on electric cars has decreased over the past 5 years. The private sector is reducing costs. Electric vehicle makers have increased consumer choices with more models, improved manufacturing processes, and the cost of batteries has continued to decline. The electric vehicle industry outlook is bright. The EV market is projected to grow between 2020 and 2027 sales by about $2.5 trillion during that period. The volume is going to be around 233 million vehicles. In 2020, Asia Pacific had the largest share of the global EV market by value and volume, followed by Europe and then North America. Now, I'm very proud that in the USA, finally, we are making a very serious effort to introduce EVs into the country. Bipartisan infrastructure bill, which has been developed jointly between the two parties, Republicans and Democrats, have introduced a bill that includes $7.5 billion to create charging stations all across the United States, which would inevitably help spur the electric vehicle adoptions in the USA. $7.5 billion to transition buses and other public transportation away from fossil fuels and to zero emission options. That's an incredible commitment to electric vehicles. And individual states are making their own, within the United States, are making their own commitments. New York State, for example, is aiming to get up to 50% of cars in the state to be electric vehicles by the year 2030. That's 10 years, 9 years from now. EV will penetrate entire product lines. 18 of the global top 20 vehicle manufacturers, which represented around 90% of new car registrations in 2020, have stated plans to widen their portfolio of models and to rapidly scale up the production of light-duty trucks and other electric vehicles. But critical challenges still remain. One of them is accelerating the rollout of zero-emission vehicles, decarbonization of the source of the electric vehicle, electric power by decarbonizing electricity generation, integrating electric vehicles into the grid energy consumers and energy providers, building fast charging infrastructure for all vehicles categories, and advancing sustainable battery manufacturing and recycling. So even though we've made tremendous progress, there is still a lot to do. And so I welcome you, and I wish you a wonderful day today in your Expo of electric vehicles. Thank you very much. 감사합니다.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Yakov Shamash. 네, 지금 늦은 시간인데요. 뉴욕에서
It's a very late hour in New York. Chairman Shamash, thank you very much for joining us in such a late hour. And he has given us a great news that U.S. has passed the bipartisan bill to support the EV. Now we are going to invite His Excellency Ambassador Damir Kusen of Croatia to Republic of Korea. He will join us through the video.
Your Excellency, yes, please go ahead, sir.
Everyone, Mr. Tehwan Kim, Chairman of the GEAN, distinguished members of the GEAN Assembly, honorable participants of this meeting. It is indeed my very great pleasure to have this opportunity to welcome you all and congratulate you for this 6th GEAN General Meeting. We all know that in the last 2 years, we were under heavy burden of the COVID pandemics, but we have properly learned how to work together, how to cooperate, even without sharing the same place. But I think that we have also shown that despite these serious corona-related global obstacles, we learn how to move on with our agenda, our goals, our business plans, if we are united in our commitments. And climate change and the global issue requests really the full commitments by all of us. In that context, I would like to highly appreciate all your efforts, energy, and wisdom to push the electric vehicle agenda as one of the most important global topics of our time. I think that we are all very grateful to Mr. Tehwan Kim, Chairman of the Board of Directors of the Global Electric Vehicle Association Network, who is also global visionary and strong promoter of the electric cars and environment-friendly vehicle technology. My sincere congratulations go to all members of the board and to all participants of these meetings and the 8th International Electric Vehicle Expo. Ladies and gentlemen, because of the consequences of the pandemic's year 2020 will be mainly remembered as the hardest one for business, with all restrictions, regulations that have blocked the global industry and world supply chains. However, it was quite a positive development in the electric vehicle industry. Global sales of electric cars has accelerated fast in 2020, rising 43% to 3.3 million electric vehicle cars. Some predictions for this year suggest that Europe might reach the sales of 2 million electric vehicle cars. The market share of the newly registered passenger electric vehicle cars in the European Union was 10.5% in 2020. Just in comparison, just a year before, it was only 3.2%. And 5 years ago, in 2015, it was only 1%. In 2020, Republic of Korea sold 55,000 electric vehicles, what is also a significant increase of 55% in comparison to the previous year. I think that is the good moment to congratulate Korea and your government for really wonderful leadership in that field. The European Commission's Sustainable and Smart Mobile Strategy targets at least 30 million zero-emission cars in the roads by 2030. European Union is determined to become the first climate-neutral continent until 2050. We are very glad that Korea has also announced such an ambitious plan. European Union and Korea cooperate very closely on common goals in environment protection and climate change. Actually, the next joint European Union-Korea Climate Action Project event will be in the next few days, on 16th of September. And I'm sure that my dear colleague, Mr. Christophe Besset, Chancellor at the European Union delegation and expert in that field, will explain much more later on in detail. Croatia. Croatia is also deeply committed to the energy neutral country till 2050, committed to the European Green Deal, European Digital Decade, and to the Croatian National Energy and Climate Plan. The increase of the number of charging stations we see as one of the most important targets and plans of the new Green Deal policy. Croatia is a small population country, but every year we have more than 20 million foreign tourists, and huge majority of them are coming by cars. Of course, that we are interested to reduce the pollution, and we would like to have much more electric cars. In the last few years, Croatia has additionally emerged to the, let's say, electric vehicle world map with the Rimac Automobili company. Actually, Rimac Automobili produced at the moment the world's fastest accelerating fully electric hypercar, Concept 1, Concept 2, and a car called Nevera. Let me share with you the very latest, quite symbolic performance in my capital city of Zagreb, actually organized last weekend. I was there as well. Mate Rimac organized in Croatia the gathering of the Supercar Owner Circle Club. It's, as we all know, the most expensive sport cars club in the world. But what is the main point, that at the speed test, Rimac fully electric car Nevera was much faster than any other present petrol-based car. I think that this is not just a winning card for the Rimac, but I would say for the whole industry of the electric vehicles. For all supercar lovers, it was indeed a paradise for us. I have just returned to Seoul a few days ago, and I was at that presentation, and if you don't mind, I can show you just a few slides from this event. This is Nevera. I'm sorry that I put on my iPad, but I didn't have time for the proper presentation. This is Nevera, and this is the beauty of the cars performing this event in Zagreb. As you can see, they were moving to the coast. Some of them are electric, but mainly still petrol. But the fact that the Rimac car managed to win the race, I think it's important for all our efforts in the electric vehicle industry. On the picture is Mr. Mate Rimac, owner of this company, and it's Rimac Nevera car. It's a car almost 2,000 horsepower, precisely 1914, and it's around 400 kilometers, 420 top speed, and the car can reach the 100 kilometers in less than 2 seconds. It shows that electric cars are equally something that we can count on. Famous American magazine just published on the front page, I think there's something that is in the interest of all of us, suggesting that electric cars can win the race. This is for many who are still skeptical, I think the good message. Ladies and gentlemen, at the end of 2020, it was more than 10 million electric vehicles in the world, but we have to face reality. Still, it accounts for only 1% of the global car fleet. Projections for this year predict the overall global sale of some 70 million cars. I know that a little bit more optimistic projection would suggest that International Energy Agency predicts some 145 million electric cars, buses, vans, and heavy trucks by 2030. If we do more with a strong joint commitments by all governments facing the real problems of the climate change, we can rise this number, and more optimistic estimation suggests that this number could easily reach more than 200 or 230 million electric vehicle cars by 2030. Therefore, I think that your event is a crucial step forward in promoting not only electric cars as the products on the market, but much as a new, better future and clean environment-oriented philosophy. Once more, I would like to congratulate the chairman and the members of the board of GEAN and all of you who have contributed to this really highly important event. Thank you once more for this opportunity to be with you today, at least virtually, and I wish you a very fruitful and successful meeting. Thank you very much indeed, and 고맙습니다.
Your Excellency, Kusen, thank you very much for joining us today. 대사님께서는 2020
합니다. Despite the COVID-19 in 2020, there was an increase of 43% of the e-vehicle in the year. And then to achieve the carbon neutral goal by 2050, he emphasized the great role of the Global EV Association Network. Thank you very much. Next speaker is from Silicon Valley Global Venture Capital called Rising Tide Fund, Mr. Osama Hanasain.
Thank you. So, dear partners and friends, it is my honor to be joining you in the 6th GEAN annual meeting and the 8th Jeju IEVE. Over the last decade, IEVE greatly contributed to raising the insights into electric vehicle. Amazingly, market share of electric vehicles in Korea grew by 1% and Jeju by 6%. Korea's experience and dedication to the development of the electric vehicle industry is an inspiring, impactful example for countries around the world to follow. According to the IEA's Global Electric Vehicle Outlook, if governments ramp up their efforts to meet international energy and climate goals like the Koreans, the global EV fleet could increase, hitting 230 million EVs by the end of the decade. We live in the most interesting times. A few highlights can make us all impressed. As Edward Deming said, "In God we trust. All others bring data." So here are the data. 3 million new electric cars were registered in 2020, a 41% increase compared to 2019, pushing the total number of electric cars on the road to 10 million, a figure supplemented by 1 million electric buses, vans, and heavy trucks. Consumer spending on electric cars in 2020 hit $120 billion. During the year 2020, more than 50 million tons of carbon dioxide equivalent of greenhouse gas emissions were saved by the use of EVs globally. Touching on public transportation and electric micromobility, more than 100 European cities started operating e-scooters since July 2020, about a year ago. Globally, there is currently 290 million 2-3-wheelers. In the United States in 2020, unfortunately, the total number of EVs registered were 295,000. By comparison, Europe witnessed the highest share of new electric cars with 1.4 million registrations, followed by China at 1.2 million. The increase in electric car registrations in Europe, where the numbers are doubling every year, can be attributed to stimulus measures introduced by European governments. The leading countries with the biggest EV sales share are Norway, with a record 75%, followed by 50% in Iceland and 30% in Sweden. The increase in electric car registration resulted in an increased production of automotive lithium-ion batteries. Further technological advances include changes in battery chemistry, changes in energy density, and changes in the size of battery packs. The global marketing is strengthening efforts for carbon-free renewable energies. Ultimately, these changes will lead to massive cost reduction and increased production efficiency. Luckily, GEAN's activities are enlightening the private sector around the world to discuss collaborative opportunities and dedication to enable these positive changes to happen, as well as prepare for countermeasures. I would like to express my appreciation for the cooperation and efforts of the members of GEAN. I'm deeply grateful for the efforts and leadership of Chairman Dae-Hwan Kim, and feel super excited about the time and efforts for the development of Greater GEAN. I deeply miss being with you in Jeju, but luckily we are connected. Warmest greetings from Menlo Park, California, and looking forward to seeing you all in Jeju next year. I pray to God for your health and happiness. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chairman Hanasign. 네, 박사님을 제주도에서 뵐 수 있었으면 좋겠습니다.
Chairman, we definitely want to see you in Jeju next year. First keynote presentation, Vice Chairman Woo Tae-lee of Korean Chamber of Commerce of Industry. He will talk about the vision of Korean electric vehicles and global cooperation opportunities. Please welcome Vice Chairman Woo with a big round of applause.
예, 여러분 반갑습니다.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. And I would like to thank the organizers for inviting me to the 8th International EV Expo. And over the next 15 minutes, I'm going to talk about Korea's EV vision and the challenges that we need to overcome. So first, I'll talk about the background. This is my agenda. First, I want to talk about the United States. On August 5th of this year, President Biden has signed the administrative order for zero-emission vehicles. Zero-emission vehicles is much more stricter set of criteria than the eco-friendly vehicle criteria that we have in Korea. Zero-emission vehicles only includes plug-in hybrid and does not include hybrid EV cars. And President Biden said that the future of American vehicles is EV and there will be no turning back. And GM, Ford, Stellantis, all their CEOs were present there and they all agreed on this. Stellantis is a new name. It was formed in January this year with the technology of Europe, and Fiat Chrysler's capital got together to establish Taliant. By 2025, they're going to invest $35.3 billion. That is because Ford, well, in May, they wanted to invest $22 billion, but they increased to $30 billion in May this year, but they increased it to $35.3 billion. And in that meeting, Chairman Jim Pala of Ford did not look so pleased on that day, according to some news. Let's come back to Korea. The history, how many years do we have in our history of automobiles? The U.S., they have 100 years of history. In 1930, Ford's T model were first launched, but before that, Germany. In 1886, Daimler I think they developed the first four-wheeled gasoline car. Compared to their history, Korea only has 50 years of history when it comes to automobile industry. In 1955, we had our first vehicle, and ponies were produced in 1976. So we only have 1/3 and one half of the automobile history of Germany and the United States, respectively. And however, as of last year, we are one of the top 5 automobile manufacturers in the world. And when it comes to R&D, we are one of the top 10. And out of the 100 component manufacturers in the world, we have 9 of them in Korea. So when it comes to EV models, we are also in this journey. When it comes to EV industry, all the countries have more or less the similar history, where Korea is ahead of other countries, in fact. I heard that in 1973, first EVs were developed, but people did not pay much attention to that until early 2000. In Korea, in 2004, we first passed the law for eco-friendly vehicle development, and in 2006, we have developed the first master plan for development and distribution of eco cars. But people were not much interested in EV at the time. But in 2015, the Ministry of Strategy developed the green car event. At that time, clean diesel, plug-in hybrid, hydrogen cars. There were 5 models. And where does the future of Korea's EV lie? Well, they invited 400 experts from home and abroad and had 1-year discussion, and they decided that EV is the way to go. The Korean government decided that we are going to invest in EVs going forward, and then as soon as that declaration was made, they faced fierce criticism from the media because China made the same choice. China also decided to go for EV, but the skepticism was around, can we really compete against China? And is it really wise to put all our eggs in one basket? But in spite of that, the Korean government came up with the funding, and they wanted to shorten the timeline for development. And I-10, based on Indian export model, they developed the EVs. And this, at that time, the electric batteries, it goes at the bottom of the car, so the car tends to be higher. And they looked for the relevant model, and they realized that cars exported to India were tall because the Indian men wear turbans. So based on that, we developed 5 test products, and blue one was one of them. And that's how we ended up having the EVs where they are now. The Korean government definitely, in order to minimize uncertainties, decided to go for EVs 15 years ago, and I think they made the right decision looking back. As of July this year, about 180,000 EVs are driven around Korea, and I think it will go up to 200,000 at the end of this year. And the number will increase very rapidly to 30 million. This is our goal for 2030, and now we have 6.7% global market share. We are number 2 in batteries. This is where we stand now. Korea's EV competitiveness compared to China, Japan, the United States, we are about 5th in the world. By 2030, we are going to build on our competitiveness so that our global market share can go up to 10%. And eco-friendly market share, our goal is to reach 33%. The strength of Korea, it comes down to 4 points. We are a battery nation of the world, and we have 34.7% of the battery market in the world. Of course, number one player is a Chinese company, CATL, but they usually focus on domestic market. But Korean companies rely heavily on exports and overseas market.
노하우가 있고요.
We have strong core competency in automobile industry, and we have an excellent value chain when it comes to automobile components, and we also have highly advanced IT infrastructure based on 5G technologies. And 2 years ago, in October 2019, the Korean government came up with a eco-friendly or future-oriented vehicle development plan. And it talks about 4 points in our policy. First is to develop the permanent charging system. So wherever you go around the country, you will be able to reach a charging station within 20 minutes. So they're going to increase the number of superchargers as well. EVs are usually expensive, so they want to introduce the battery lease system.
또한
Also, they want to enhance the battery capability. So Ion 5 can go 390 to about 400, but their goal is about 600 kilometer, and they want to achieve that goal by 2025. And to create the energy EV demands, and 100% of the public organization's car will become electric vehicles. So that was the government policy. We've had some achievement, but it's yet too early to celebrate these achievements because we are going to have groundbreaking changes coming, and the e-vehicle itself was a game change, but there are more big bang events are coming, and we have about 5 challenges. First, carbon neutrality. I mentioned about the US, and for EU, I'm sure the Minister Council, Christoph Bath, will add more information, but Hyundai and Kia Motors, well, they are good car makers. However, if Korea fails to realize carbon neutrality, they have to pay a fine. It's called CBAM. It stands for Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism, and it will be mandated starting from 2023. And we have this carbon trade system ready, but we have to still pay a fine that when we cannot realize and comply with the set goal, which will hinder the development of the automobile industry. In Norway, by 2025, they will have this ban on sales of internal combustion vehicles. Accordingly, GM and Volvo has their own plan. Next generation batteries. So far, we have a lithium-ion battery to try to make it smaller and more efficient, but now it's the era of a new materials and new circulatory system, either lithium sulfur or lithium metal or all solid state. Everything's uncertain. And how we can recycle these batteries in the new circulatory system, it will be the key. For charging system, our goal was to provide enough charging system, but now V2G or vehicle-to-grid technology should be further developed. So it's more like a virtual power generation. We can utilize the station as a power generation. any extra energy reserved on your electric vehicle can be utilized, and you can use the blockchain to trade, and it will be the key who will lead the market in the world. Fourth, e-mobility. There are various transportation methods, and they've been competing, but they need to be connected. From mobility to service, so-called the era of mass is coming. Completely different scale and the scope of the transportation will come in the future. You can see the flying car, and the next hoversoft made a hover bike. And e-vehicle, two-wheelers should be all connected, and that's our future direction. And this is just the diagram to show the purpose-built vehicle and hub. You can search the video for on YouTube to get to know more. So at the end of the day, it's important to set the right standards. Once we need to establish the Korean battery standard as a global standard, we can go further. Let me wrap up my presentation. So far, for the last 10 years, it was the government who decided wisely and then led this e-vehicle industry, and I'm sure we have a lot of achievement, but because it's still uncertain, we need more role and powerful role of a government. And we ask for more vision suggested by the government with more subsidy. And through such great opportunities like International e-vehicle Expo, like today, I hope to have more discussion fruitfully. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Vice Chairman Woo Tae-hee, for the keynote presentation. Now we are going to invite the second keynote presenter, Minister Councillor Christoph Beth of EU delegation to Korea. He will talk about Fit for 55 and European eco-friendly mobility industry.
Councillor Christoph Best with one round of applause.
Dear Ambassador Kusen, online, Chairman Kim Dae-won, Ambassador Lim Suzu, Kim Dong-seok, General Motors Managing Director, Woo Tae-hee, KCCI Vice Chairman, very interesting presentation just before mine. Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is a true pleasure for me to be here today with you in this beautiful Jeju island, and thank you very much for your hospitality. Before the pandemic hit, the world was set on an unsustainable economic path. European youth and citizens were calling for stronger climate action and ambition. This is the main reason why the EU, the Commission President Ursula von der Leyen, has set out a vision of the future in the European Green Deal. We are at a pivotal moment in the world's response to the climate and biodiversity emergencies, and we are the last generation that can still act in time. This decade is a make or break moment for delivering on our commitments under the Paris Agreement in the interest of the health, well-being, and prosperity for all. The EU has set ambitious targets for reducing net emissions by at least 55% by 2030. This is why we have this plan called Fit for 55 compared to 1990, and also for being the first climate neutral continent by 2050. These goals are no longer aspirations or ambitions, but obligations, laid down in the policy package named Fit for 55, that was published on 14 July. It is a set of 13 interconnected proposals designed to reach the EU climate goals while delivering on the transformation change needed across our economy and ensuring no one is left behind. Overall, the package enhances 8 existing pieces of legislation and presents 5 new initiatives across a range of policy areas and economic sectors: climate, energy, fuels, transports, buildings, land use, and forestry. The chosen policy is a careful balance between pricing, targets, standards, and support measures. It also includes a proposal to introduce a carbon border adjustment mechanism, the famous CBAM that the previous speaker mentioned. This is to fight climate leakage. As we raise our own climate ambition and less stringent environmental and climate policies may prevail in non-EU countries, there is a strong risk of so-called carbon leakage, i.e. companies based in the EU could move carbon-intensive production abroad to take advantage of lax standards, or EU products could be replaced by more carbon-intensive imports. Such carbon leakage can shift emissions outside of Europe and therefore seriously undermine the EU and the global climate efforts. The CBAM will equalize the price of carbon between domestic products and imports and ensure that the EU's climate objectives are not undermined by production relocating to countries with less ambitious policies. Altogether, the package is a key milestone on the road to Glasgow, the COP26. It will be the backbone of the EU's delivery on its commitments to the planet and the world for global engagement and international cooperation. This package is a Commission proposal at this stage, which now will be negotiated and have to be agreed upon by the co-legislators, the Member States in the Council, and the European Parliament. This may take quite a while before this actually enters into force. A cornerstone of the package is to build on the important achievements of the EU ETS, the emission trading system, by strengthening it and applying it to new sectors where so far emission reductions have been lacking. The experience of the last 16 years has shown that emission trading is a highly effective mechanism to bring down emissions in a cost-effective way, while the revenues that it generates can be used to support the transition to cleaner production and to stimulate innovation. The CBAM is a climate-oriented environmental policy tool, and it will be applied in a manner that complies with WTO rules, and it will not be discriminatory. In practice, the CBAM will take into account the carbon price effectively paid in third countries and will deduct it from the adjustment due at the EU border. Next to carbon pricing, other measures are needed to put transport on a firm path to zero emissions and drive down air pollution, as transport represents almost a quarter of the EU greenhouse gas emissions and is the main cause of air pollution in our cities. The automotive industry is of key importance for the EU economy, as it accounts for over 7% of the EU GDP. It provides jobs, directly or indirectly, in manufacturing, sales, maintenance, construction, transport services, to around 15 million Europeans. However, the automotive sector is currently undergoing a significant structural transformation, including changes in clean and digital technologies. In particular, the shift from internal combustion engines towards zero and low emission technologies, as well as increasingly connected vehicles. This comes on top of the unprecedented shock of the COVID. We have seen Europe's automotive sector hit by dramatic falls in production and sales, i.e. by 20%. There was also substantial disruption of supply lines, semiconductors being the most recent example, and of course, job losses. Recent industry estimates indicate that over 100,000 jobs have been lost. However, COVID has not only highlighted the need for the sector to decarbonize, but has seen the trend accelerating. In 2020, more than 1 million electric chargeable vehicles were sold in Europe. By the fourth quarter of 2020, nearly 1 in 6 passenger cars registered in Europe was an electrically chargeable vehicle. This is an important trend. Transport emissions need to decrease by 90%, 90, by 2050. The road transport segment is responsible for a fifth of total EU greenhouse gas emissions. The recovery of the automotive sector from the pandemic offers the opportunity for a green transformation, where innovative zero-emission technologies and the development of the necessary infrastructure will be key. The European Commission is seeking to have at least 30 million electric vehicles on the roads by the end of this decade, a massive increase from the current 1.4 million electric vehicles on European streets. Reaching this goal demands a set of regulations and targets to steer states, companies, and consumers in the right direction. CO2 standards have proven to be a key driver for innovation. The stricter targets applying since 2020 have triggered a surge in the uptake of battery electric and plug-in hybrid cars across Europe. As part of the Fit for 55% package, the Commission will propose to revise the CO2 emission standards for cars and vans in order to ensure a clear pathway towards zero-emission mobility. This is an important step towards achieving the objective of banning completely the sale of combustion engine cars by 2035. Moreover, a number of other measures have been proposed to support our economy to meet the challenges of the transition, and especially for strategic sectors such as automotive. In particular, I would like to highlight our policy of industrial alliances. This is a useful tool to accelerate activities that would not develop otherwise and to attract private investors. A good example of the effectiveness of this approach is the European Battery Alliance, launched in 2017. Thanks to this initiative, Europe has become a hotspot, attracting around 60 billion euros for battery-related investments. Other alliances include the European Alliance on Raw Materials to help build capacities along the entire value chain, and the European Clean Hydrogen Alliance. Both were launched last year. Hydrogen has a potentially significant role as a decarbonization pathway for heavy-duty vehicles, and I know that Korea is very much advanced in this field. While these alliances provide a powerful framework for collective action, it is EU funding that will help sustain and drive demand. The EU's 750 billion euro stimulus package includes 20 billion euros to boost the sales of clean vehicles and 1 million electric and hydrogen vehicle charging stations are to be installed by 2025. In addition, many EU countries are directing their own national economic recovery investments to the infrastructure of the future, the electric vehicle charging. Decarbonization will only be possible if there is sufficient recharging and refueling infrastructure in place across the whole EU. We also need major and sustained investment to support the reskilling of automotive workers in new technologies and manufacturing practices. The European Skills Agenda, July 2020, sets out skills response to the new economic challenges. Flattening the emission curve by 2050 and green economic rebound will only be possible if we take bold and courageous climate action together. This is the very reason why the EU welcomes Korea's Green New Deal policy and President Moon's pledge to shift the nation to a net zero society by 2050. The EU's experience shows that with a proper policy framework, climate action and economic growth can be actually decoupled. The EU's greenhouse gas emissions declined by 23% in the last 30 years, while the EU GDP increased at the same time by 61%. I think this is a very telling outcome. Sustainability is the source of growth and job that will last. The EU and its member states are ready to support and willing to work with Korean partners for a clean transition. The make or break decade has already started. Thank you for your attention.
Minister Counselor Christopher Bess, 공사 참사관님 감사합니다.
Recently, we have heard a lot about CBAM. And with the introduction of CEM, CBAM, EU is drawing attention all over the world, and Minister Counselor has done a great job of explaining the gist and details of Fit for 55 legislation. Now we are going to have a commemorative photo session in spite of the various difficulties caused by the pandemic. We are joined by a large number of people online and offline, so I would like to invite everybody on the stage for a photo session. Those of you who are joining us online, please, you will be on the photo. Please turn on your cameras.
Pose for the commemorative photo. Let us all make one line, straight one line. And try to squeeze in a little bit so that everyone can be in one photo. 네, 세계 전기차 협의회 총회를 위해서 한번 우리 멋지게
Let us pose for why don't we do fighting? Fighting.
네, one more time. Why don't we make some kind of heart pose? So chairman will say EV and everyone will say family. Are we ready? Family. 네, 감사합니다. 세계 전기차 협
Thank you. And I'm more excited to see more role of the Global EV Association Network. Let's make some housekeeping announcement. And soon we will begin the 6th General Meeting of the GEAN very soon. And please stay tuned. Thank you.
셋, 둘, 하나, 둘, 둘, 둘. 셋, 둘, 하나.